But Raja Faisal, Pakistani journalist, is also joining us on this broadcast. Raja Faisal, over 400 people have died in this strike in Kabul. Does Pakistan actually believe that all 400 of them are TTP militants, are TTP terrorists that were waiting to unleash terror in Pakistan?
No, not at all. There must have been, of course, few innocent people as well. But overall, if we talk about this compound, the very compound where Pakistan pounded these missiles, of course, the air raid was taken place. And that compound is actually a military compound. And if you want any proof about it, then you can call the Americans and ask them, wasn't it the place they were, of course, taken care of while they were ruling over Afghanistan? And this big, massive compound is having a series of, buildings, and all of these buildings, it used to be, used by the American forces.
Used to be being the operative word, sir. Does your government and Pakistani activists and journalists like you, just a second, do they know that since 2021 this has been a drug rehabilitation center?
No, not at all.
Operative word being used to be a military installation.
Yeah, not the whole compound, I'm saying, not the whole compound. Why I'm saying this? Because there is a BBC reporter who actually conducted an interview of somebody called Umid Stanikzai. He was 32-year-old security guard who was doing a security work at this rehabilitation center. And what he said was that his rehabilitation center is right in the middle of, it is encircled by the other buildings, and them buildings are being used by Taliban. Who are they keeping them? That is a big question mark.
Of course, Taliban uses them. Taliban runs a government in that country.
No, I'm so sorry.
Just because Taliban runs those buildings does not mean they are terrorist buildings.
Poonam, let
I'm
me
sorry,
finish.
he's misquoting that security guard. Let me
Wazhma Ayoubi, I'll come to you. Wazhma Ayoubi, I'll come to you. Yes.
Wazhma, let me finish. And the next sentence he speaks is that as soon as the fighter jet was right on top of us, there were shots fired from down on that fighter jet, and them shots, of course, he was referring to the anti-aircraft which were being used by the buildings right next to this very hospital. So it can be perceived that these premises, they can be the drug rehabilitation center or whatever, but all of the buildings around it, that was the actual place Pakistan was carrying out this air raid, and it was a successful air raid. And they are only showing the pictures of this particular building, which was a rehabilitation center. And overall, if we go through the different newspapers as well, especially Al Jazeera has reported this, and many other Western authentic newspapers, they are reporting this, that if we, this particular location, of course, it was a rehabilitation center, but around it, all of the buildings, they are being used by Taliban. And don't forget that Pakistan's intelligence agencies, of course, it is coming out from them as well. The sources are telling me that Pakistan's intelligence agencies, they were carrying a log of the movements of people they were after. And day by day, the movements were actually carrying out, and all of these people, they were taken to this particular place, the buildings next to this very place. So it is.
But the buildings next to that very place were not targeted. This particular building was also targeted.
No, they are
408 people were killed, sir. Out of those 408 people, that have died and over 200 that are injured, perhaps many of them fighting for their life.
All of them buildings are targeted.
Were all of them terrorists as per you?
Yeah.
All 400 of them that have died today?
Yeah, of course. On the basis of very pertinent intelligence, Pakistan has carried out this activity, and I believe that this was very timely when they saw that everyone is there. Don't forget that Pakistan has intelligence within the Taliban themselves. There are different cadres within Taliban.
Sure.
Tier 1, Tier 2, Tier 3.
Sure. So, Wazhma Ayoubi, this was based on intelligence that a limited part of which also came in from Afghanistan, says Pakistan. So how can you now blame us?
That's their claims. That's they also claim to have won every war against India and also claim to have already won everything in Afghanistan. That's their claim. What he just said, he misquoted that security officer from that hospital. See, in this facility, there are different blocks. It's like the Policharhi prison in Kabul. So there are different blocks, and different categories of addicts are kept in different blocks of the this facility. So that security guard was from a particular block that was, like, not hit as severely as the rest of the blocks. But the claims that they're saying that, there were a lot of Taliban military establishments around it, that's completely false. Yes, this facility used to be a camp for the US and the NATO, but after 2021, it was turned into a rehab center.
Yes.
So this gentleman is saying that we had intelligence, of course. So that means you're working on behest of the U.S. because they wanted to target this hospital, and you guys just went ahead and targeted it without even confirming what this was.